Before we dive into this incredible story, if you're enjoying these untold Hollywood secrets, please hit that like button and subscribe for more shocking celebrity revelations. Your support means the world to us. Now, let's get into this amazing story. It was September 3rd, 1958, and Clint Eastwood was sitting in his beat-up Chevrolet outside the gates of Universal Studios, seriously considering giving up acting forever. He had been in Hollywood for 3 years, and all he had to show for it was a handful of bit parts in B-movies and a growing stack of rejection letters. At 28 years old, he was running out of money, running out of hope, and running out of time. That's when a gruff, chain-smoking man in his 50s walked up to his car window and changed his life forever. "You look like hell, kid," the man said, "but you've got something. I'm not sure what it is yet, but I'm willing to find out." That man was Arthur Lubin, a veteran Hollywood director who would become the most important mentor in Clint Eastwood's life. The teacher who transformed a struggling actor into the biggest movie star in the world. The forgotten genius who created the legend we know today. Now, let me back up here and explain how this unlikely partnership began, and how one man's vision turned Clint Eastwood from a nobody into an icon. Arthur Lubin was already a Hollywood legend. He had directed over 60 films, worked with stars like Abbott and Costello, and had a reputation for discovering and developing new talent. But Lubin was also considered old-fashioned by many in the industry. While other directors were embracing method acting and psychological realism, Lubin believed in the power of presence, charisma, and what he called natural authority. Arthur had an eye for something that other people couldn't see, recalled actress Joanne Dru, who worked with both men. He could look at someone and see not just who they were, but who they could become. When Lubin first spotted Clint at a casting call for a Western TV series, most people in the room saw a tall, awkward young man with limited acting experience. But Lubin saw something else entirely. "This kid doesn't know how to act yet," he told his assistant after Clint's audition, "but he knows how to be, and that's much more rare." The TV series was called Rawhide, and Lubin fought hard to get Clint cast as Rowdy Yates, despite objections from network executives who thought Clint was too inexperienced for a major role. Arthur put his reputation on the line for Clint, revealed CBS executive William Dozier years later. "He basically told us, trust me on this one, or find another director." But getting Clint the role was just the beginning. What Arthur Lubin did next would transform not just Clint's career, but his entire approach to acting. Actually, let me tell you about Lubin's teaching methods, because they were unlike anything anyone else in Hollywood was doing. Traditional acting coaches focused on emotional memory, character motivation, and psychological preparation. Lubin's approach was completely different. "Arthur didn't want you to become the character," explained Clint years later. "He wanted you to let the character become you." Lubin's first lesson for Clint was about silence. "Most actors think they need to fill every moment with dialogue or action," Lubin told him. "But the camera loves stillness. It loves a man who can say everything with his eyes and nothing with his mouth." This was revolutionary advice in an era when most actors were trained to project their voices and express themselves through broad gestures. Lubin spent hours teaching Clint how to use silence as a weapon, how to make the audience lean forward rather than sit back. "He taught me that less is more," Clint recalled, "that sometimes the most powerful thing an actor can do is absolutely nothing." The second lesson was about authenticity. Lubin noticed that Clint was most compelling when he wasn't trying to act like someone else, but when he was being an amplified version of himself. "Stop trying to be John Wayne or Gary Cooper," Lubin told him during one particularly frustrating rehearsal. "They already exist. What the world needs is the first Clint Eastwood." This advice went against everything Clint had been taught by other acting coaches, who had encouraged him to model himself after established stars. "Arthur made me realize that my job wasn't to imitate other actors," Clint. "It was to discover what made me unique and then amplify that." The third lesson was about screen presence. Lubin understood that television and movies were different from theater. The camera could pick up subtleties that would be lost on a stage, but it could also magnify any falseness or self-consciousness. The camera is like a lie detector, he told Clint. It knows when you're faking, when you're trying too hard, when you're not being truthful to yourself. He taught Clint to think of the camera as a friend rather than an enemy, to be as natural and relaxed on screen as he would be in his own living room. Don't forget to comment below and let us know what other Hollywood mentorships you'd like to hear about. But Lubin's most important lesson was about developing what he called the Eastwood stare. Every great movie star has a signature look, Lubin explained. Something that's uniquely theirs, something that communicates power without words. He spent weeks working with Clint on developing the squint that would become his trademark. It wasn't just about squinting, Clint explained years later. It was about focusing all your intensity into your eyes, making the audience feel like you could see right through them. Lubin taught him to use the squint sparingly, to save it for moments when it would have maximum impact. Arthur made me understand that my squint wasn't just an expression, Clint said. It was a weapon, and like any weapon, it was only effective if you didn't overuse it. The training extended beyond just acting techniques. Lubin also taught Clint about the business side of Hollywood. Arthur showed me how to read a script, how to understand what a director really wanted, how to work with crews, Clint recalled. He taught me that being a successful actor meant being a professional in every aspect of the business. Lubin also taught Clint about the importance of building relationships in Hollywood. Talent will get you in the door, he told him, but relationships will keep you working. Treat everyone with respect, from the biggest star to the guy who brings you coffee. This advice would prove crucial throughout Clint's career, as he became known as one of the most professional and easy to work with actors in Hollywood. Actually, you know what's really interesting? Lubin also taught Clint about choosing projects. Arthur had a rule, Clint remembered. Never take a job just for the money. Take jobs that will teach you something, or advance your career. The money will follow if you make smart choices. This philosophy guided Clint throughout his career, leading him to choose roles that challenged him and expanded his range, rather than simply paying the most. It's also why Clint was willing to take the risk of going to Italy to make spaghetti westerns with Sergio Leone, even though most American actors looked down on European productions. Arthur had taught me to look for opportunities that others might dismiss, Clint explained. He said the best careers are built by saying yes to things that scare other people. The relationship between Lubin and Clint extended far beyond their work on Rawhide. Even after the show ended, Lubin continued to mentor Clint, advising him on career decisions and helping him navigate the complicated politics of Hollywood. When Clint decided he wanted to become a director, it was Lubin who encouraged him and taught him the fundamentals of filmmaking. Arthur didn't just teach me how to act, Clint said. He taught me how to think like a director, how to understand what the camera sees, how to work with other actors. This foundation proved invaluable when Clint began directing his own films, starting with Play Miss. But perhaps Lubin's most important contribution to Clint's success was teaching him about authenticity and staying true to himself. Arthur made me realize that the audience doesn't want perfection, Clint explained. They want truth. They want to see something real, even if it's rough around the edges. This philosophy became central to Clint's approach to both acting and directing. His films are known for their naturalistic performances, their focus on character over spectacle, and their unflinching examination of human nature. All of these elements can be traced back to Arthur Lubin's teachings. The impact of Lubin's mentorship can be seen throughout Clint's career. The Man with No Name character in the Sergio Leone westerns is built on the foundation of silence and presence that Lubin taught him. Dirty Harry's intimidating stare comes directly from hours of practice under Lubin's guidance. Even Clint's later work as a director reflects Lubin's emphasis on truth, authenticity, and emotional restraint. Everything I accomplished in my career can be traced back to those early lessons with Arthur, Clint said in a 1995 interview. He didn't just teach me how to act, he taught me how to be a movie star. But the most remarkable thing about Arthur Lubin's influence on Clint Eastwood is how invisible it became. By the time Clint achieved major stardom, Lubin's contributions had been largely forgotten by Hollywood and the public. Arthur never sought credit for Clint's success, recalled director Don Siegel, who worked with both men. He was content to know that he had played a part in creating something special. This humility was characteristic of Lubin, who believed that a good mentor's job was to make himself unnecessary. Arthur used to say that the best teachers are the ones whose students surpass them, Clint remembered. He wanted me to become bigger than he ever was. Lubin continued working in Hollywood until the 1970s, but he never again discovered a talent as significant as Clint Eastwood. Arthur often said that finding Clint was the achievement he was most proud of, revealed his longtime assistant, Mary Patterson. Not because of the fame or money it brought, but because he had helped create something that would outlast both of them. When Arthur Lubin died in 1995, Clint was one of the pallbearers at his funeral. In his eulogy, Clint said something that perfectly captured what Lubin had meant to him. Arthur Lubin saw something in me that I didn't even know existed. He took a confused young man who wanted to be an actor and taught him how to be a human being first. Everything I achieved because Arthur believed in me before I believed in myself. The relationship between Arthur Lubin and Clint Eastwood represents one of Hollywood's greatest mentor-student partnerships, but it also represents something larger, the power of one person to completely transform another's life through guidance, wisdom, and belief. Arthur Lubin didn't just teach Clint Eastwood how to act, he taught him how to find his authentic self and then share that authenticity with the world. The lessons that Lubin passed on to Clint about silence, presence, authenticity, and truth became the foundation of one of the most successful careers in entertainment history. But more than that, they became the principles that guided Clint through life, helping him maintain his integrity and humanity even as he achieved unprecedented fame and success. The man who turned Clint Eastwood into a legend wasn't a famous director or a powerful studio executive. He was a thoughtful teacher who understood that the most important thing he could give his student wasn't technique or connections. It was the confidence to be himself. Arthur Lubin's name might not appear on any of Clint Eastwood's movie posters, but his influence appears in every frame, every performance, every moment of quiet intensity that made Clint Eastwood a legend. The teacher Hollywood never talks about created the star that Hollywood can't stop talking about. And that might be the greatest testament to Arthur Lubin's teaching philosophy. The best mentors create legacies that are bigger than themselves. They teach their students not just how to succeed, but how to become the kind of people who inspire others to succeed. Arthur Lubin turned Clint Eastwood into a legend, but more importantly, he turned him into the kind of man who would spend the rest of his career turning other people into legends too. The teacher's greatest lesson wasn't about acting, it was about paying it forward. And Clint Eastwood has been teaching that lesson to others for over 60 years.